conference call.
Yeah.
We're going to push this back to Tuesday because of the outage, Sunday night.
No, I didn't have an opinion either way.
This meeting is now being recorded.
All right. Well, let's jump right in here, guys. Thanks, Ralph and Dustin, for jumping on the phone this morning. Let's go ahead and start with you, Dustin, since I have already been kind of talking to you.
Carol, no.
So how was? Oh.
I don't think so. Oh, Cairo, yeah, actually I do. And there were a couple from the list you sent me that was on Cairo too. I was going to throw those in. Do you want to do that with me or?
No, that's Ralph, I think.
Oh.
Ralph, is that you? Was that you, Dustin, or Ralph?
I have mine muted, so I don't know what's going on.
Oh, okay. There we go. Well.
Oh yeah.
Now it's you. Oh, that doesn't sound like Ralph does. Is there any way we can mute Ralph?
Oh, sure. We got
like he's on the phone.
400 names from Grand Island, probably 65, 70s.
There you go.
Is that Ralph?
There we go. We muted him. Yeah, that's Ralph. All right, Dustin. How was your week last week? What were you up to?
Let's see. Last week we were in Jordan. I was with Terry. We got a couple supplements and accident, massa. I think we have a annuity that's in the works right now. So about it.
Cool. Getting any time on your own at all, or mostly just riding?
I've been out a couple days on my own, but I'll be out today on my own. I'm gonna try to do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on my own. So.
Well, if you get a sale this week, I'll send you a shirt, a Farmer Stockman shirt. Just any sale on your own.
All right.
I see your first sale come in. Good luck out there, man. Let's see. Ralph was talking on the phone. We have him muted. I don't know how to unmute him. Let's see. Let's see here. Hey, Ralph, you there? Ralph? Okay. We're just going to get started here. All right.
All right.
We're going to do so we talked about long-term care already, and I think we covered that pretty well, so we're going to start with getting into some life insurance stuff. So I want to just start out with the basics, what each type of long-term care is, or what each type of life insurance is, and then and how it works today. Then we'll go on to how to sell each type, and what people would be a good fit for each type next week and after that. Okay, so I wanted to start with term. So with term, there's actually several different types of term. They have we don't usually do a lot of them, but you might run into them out there. There's increasing term, and there's decreasing term. Those are your life insurance death benefit goes up every year, or your life insurance goes down. The decreasing, you run into that every now and then. Increasing, I don't even know if I've ever run into it, but I know it's out there. But that a decreasing term, it goes down with your, let's say you have a mortgage and you want to cover your mortgage. The idea is the more your mortgage drops, the less insurance you need. So it decreases your life insurance, saves you a little money. Usually, we're not talking about either of these, but just so you know, they're out there. And then there's something called annual renewable term, or ART. Talking about mortgages made me write down ARM. Okay, ART, annual renewable term. This one you will have to know what it is out there. Okay. Annual renewable term means their guaranteed period is either over on their term or they bought it like that. Annual renewable means it goes like this. Your term, every year your price goes up. Okay? So it isn't a good thing to have an annual renewable term. Unless you're really young. When you're really young, your cost of insurance is really low. When you get older, your annual renewable term goes up a lot every single year. So a lot of times you can get people out of these. What'll happen is they go into a normal term, and then their term runs out, and then it turns automatically into an ART, an annual renewable term, and their premiums will go up every year. At first, they'll barely notice it because it might go up from $39 to $40 a month when they're in their 40s or 50s. But when they're in their 60s and 70s, that thing will go up to hundreds of dollars a month for the same thing. And it's an exponential scale, so it goes like this. Okay. So even though your premiums are going up a little bit, and then they go up a lot. Okay, so that's an annual renewable term. We don't sell those, but some of the term you can buy turns into those after the term is up. But you will run into those out there if you review life insurance. Okay. And I definitely recommend reviewing life insurance. It's one of the biggest ways you can make a lot of money. Okay. So there's annual renewable term, increasing and decreasing. And then we'll talk about just what a basic term is. Okay, there's terms. A term can be anywhere from 5 to 30 years. And I'm sure you can get a 1 year or a 2 year, and you can get a 35 and a 40 year, but usually they're 5 to 30 years. What that does is it locks in your premium for whatever term you buy. So if you buy a 5 year, you're locked in for 5 years. If you buy a 30 year, you're locked in for 30 years. If you buy a 20 year, you're locked in for 20 years. I like to sell the families term policies, and I like to get their kids out to 21. So if you got a 2-year-old, then you want a 20-year term. That gets your kids up to 22 years old. You'll hear Dave Ramsey talk about 10 times your net on term is what you need. I think, a lot of farmers and ranchers, you can go 5 times. We'll talk more about the specifics of what to sell later, but that's how it works. Okay, so you're locked in on a term, and you will sell term out there. People like term. The problem is at the younger ages, it's so cheap. I have a term quote that I'm working with right now. This gal is 32. She has 2-year-old kids, or a 2-year-old kid, and wants to have more. So we wanted a 20-year term. She's 32 years old. Well, it's $200 a year for a $300,000 20-year term. I mean, which is great for her, but it's hard to make a living off, 50% commission on $200. So it's a great service to have, but you're not going to make a lot of money in the younger ages here. Universal life, you'll run into this all over the place out there in the field. So it's important to know what traditional universal life is, okay? Traditional and how it works, because you'll be reviewing it with folks. It was sold a lot in the 80s through the 90s, and you'll find them in the early 2000s too. But what happens is these are interest rate sensitive life insurance policies, okay? So what they do is your premium, they guess. They have this thing called a target premium, okay? A target premium, first of all, as an agent, that's what you get paid on. And then they have so let's say your target premium is $100 a month, okay? That's set to be the same for the rest of your life. Your death benefit, it doesn't matter what your death benefit is, but let's just say it's $500,000 to give you guys an example. So here's what happens internally on one of these universal life policies. You pay $100 a month. They project off of interest rates current interest rates at the time they buy it, what is going to support this policy? So your cost of insurance, COI, they abbreviate in your life insurance. Cost of insurance starts out really low. Like I said, with the 30-year-old, is $200 a year. Okay, so you're actually way overpaying. Your cost of insurance, your COI, when you're 30, let's say you bought it at 30, your COI would be, I don't know, probably about $10 a month. Okay? Now the idea with universal life is you take that $90 difference, there's a $90 difference there, okay? And it adds to an account, and that's called your cash value, okay? So you're overpaying on purpose, and then it goes up exponentially like this. That's your cost of insurance, right? Your cost of insurance goes skyrockets later. The idea is that this $90 adds up in your cash value plus another 90 every month, plus, adds up, gives you a savings account. And then when your premiums go up, you've got this nice savings account. Your cost, what you're paying always is supposed to stay $100 a month on most of them. But when it actually goes up over $100 a month, the idea is you have a savings account to pay for this difference, okay? So that's how universal works. The problems that you find a lot with universal life is that they project off current interest rates. In the 80s and the 90s, even the early 2000s, we had way higher interest rates. Now they've dropped in those policies. So that your cash inside that policy isn't staying up with what it needs to project out and pay what it needs to pay for this difference later on. So bottom line is a lot of these life insurances will just drop, or your premiums will skyrocket. So you'll be going along $100 a month, and it'll pay for the difference, and then it runs out right here. Okay? So then you have to pay the premium right there because you ran out of your savings account. So your premium just goes up from $100 to $500 a month right there. So really good to review those. What you don't want to see is decreasing cash value in those. If those start decreasing in cash value, especially if it's really fast, or they don't have a lot of cash in there, it's a good time to get out. Okay. GUL, Guaranteed Universal Life. So this is what we use a ton. So this is what you're going to be selling. You won't be selling this if you replace a lot of it, the universal life. Guaranteed Universal Life is what you'll be talking to folks about. Okay, Guaranteed Universal Life is very simple. You still pay that $100 a month. Okay, so it goes like this, and your death benefit is still $500,000. Okay, but you're locked in at $100 a month, and your cash value in these things is next to nothing. Okay, so you don't have this savings account that goes up, and you don't have this cost of insurance that goes up exponentially. You don't have cash value problems. There's no savings account tied to most of these. GULs, the easiest way for me to explain a GUL without going into all that is it's a termed age 121. You're locked in. There's no cash value usually on these things. It's just a term that instead of being locked in from 5 to 30 years, it's locked in for life. So term for life. Okay. Term for life, it's the best way to get permanent insurance inexpensively. Okay. Another one that you'll sell that's in the same ballpark that we'll talk more about later is Last Survivor, GUL. That covers the last survivor. Okay, so you got a husband and wife. It's only going to insure the last one. If you got $500,000 on the death benefit of the last one to survive, husband dies, wife dies 10 years later, it only pays out when the second one dies. It's great for estate planning, and it's less expensive because the less risk for the insurance company. Okay. Okay, so now we're down to indexed universal life. Indexed universal life, you might sell this. This is a kind of a trendy thing to sell right now. They have books about it. I've been asked if we could sell it by certain agents. I don't personally sell it, but I know that there's an opportunity out there. But you got to know how it works because it's available to you to have. So if you have somebody that wants to have their cash value really grow, indexed universal life works just like an indexed annuity. You've got your same $100 a month as your price, okay? And then you've got your cash value. This one does have cash value. But the cash value goes, all this extra, that $90 that you're overpaying for your cost of insurance, when you're younger, you're not using all your cost of insurance, that $90 that's going into the savings account goes into something that's just like an indexed annuity. And your cash value goes up with the indexed interest. Okay, so your cash value will go up, which means eventually your death benefit will go up as well. Okay, so that's the idea. The only reason you buy a indexed universal life is if you want cash value later. Okay, and it's probably the best product for, in most scenarios, to get the most cash value without risking what you have. Just to throw it in there because it kind of fits in with index universal life. There's also something out there that we'll run into a lot. It's called VUL, variable universal life. I guess you won't run into it a lot, but when you do run into it, it's easy to replace. I just replaced one last month, made like $5,000 in commission and helped the guy out a ton. A VUL is a variable universal life. The VUL means that variable universal life means the cash value goes into a stock account. Okay, really high fees usually, no all risk. It's VULs. I don't know any reason to even buy one because you're risking your life insurance in the stock market. Okay, so there's VUL, and then there's whole life. Whole life is the most simple one, and it's probably one of the oldest ones. Whole life is the most expensive kind of insurance you can buy. It's all the risk. There's no cash. There's cash value, but there's no risk on the consumer. It's all taken on by the insurance company. If you pay X, they give you X, and you get cash value that grows. In the 50s, 60s, I mean, all the old policies you run into, and not very many of the new ones, but a lot of them will be whole life. Okay, they're overpriced, but they're guaranteed. Usually grow some cash value. Last week, I rolled out 5 whole life policies, and I took those whole life policies and I put them into it's not on here. It's a whole life, but it's a single pay whole life. So I took 5 of these whole lives. These guys were paying. Give you an example of why you should review life insurance. This guy had 5 policies, 3 on him, 2 on his wife. 5 policies. They were 64 and 59. We reviewed these 5 policies. They were whole life policies, and his policies, he had 3 policies. His 3 policies had $155,000 in cash. Okay. They had $200,000 or $300,000 in death benefit, and he was paying $5,500 a year. Okay. His wife had 2 policies. there was $60,000 in cash. There was $200,000 in death benefit. She was paying $3,000 a year. Okay. What you're able to do when you review these policies, you can see he had $155,000 in cash. She had $60,000. $300,000 in death benefit and $200,000. $8,500 in premium. You can plug these things in. You can take these cash values, plug it in, call it by group, and what we did was a Welcher. But you could take that cash, you can roll it into a new policy, and they didn't want to pay premiums anymore. So what we were able to do with them, long story short, we put them from 5 whole life policies because they're overpriced at $300,000 and $200,000. We got them $300,000 and $200,000 in death benefit with a Welcher, and they don't have to pay premiums anymore. Okay, so they went from paying $8,000 a year to paying nothing, and still having a whole life policy that passes on the same amount of money. It was within a few $1,000s of what they had. And did that with VJ last week. We made $15,000. So just review these policies. It's important. It's hard to fit this in half an hour or 20 minutes. It's kind of over the top. But this will kind of give you the basics. You've got to go out and learn on your own. Self-study is going to help a lot. But I'm telling you, reviewing life insurance will make you a lot of money, because there's a lot of people out there that sell life insurance that don't know what they're doing when they sell it. And it ends up with this kind of scenario. And you can help customers a lot, make a lot of money doing it. Any questions, guys?
Are there any training resources on our website for life insurance?
Not that I know of. I don't know. Chris, do we have anything up there?
There's the basics of life insurance. I think there's 3 or 4 videos on.
Okay.
And then the carriers all have videos as well. There is the quoting engine and the forms engine for life insurance guys. So Ralph and Dustin, if you're wanting a term quote, you can go into the website, select products, select life insurance, and then you have a number of quoting engines. You can quote term insurance, UL, whole life. You can pull down applications for any carrier that we are appointed with, and those are good tools. That's about.
Check those out. And, if you have any questions, you can always call me. Call my cell phone if you get into scenarios. The best time to go over it, where I learned most of the things that I've learned, is just review that life insurance with them. Look at statements. And you might know the answers. I mean, you might not know the answers, and that's fine. But if you have a statement, if you have the cash value, the premium, and the death benefit, you can take a copy of that. What I do is I just take a copy with my phone. I take a picture of it while I'm there. I say, I'll come back to you with what we can do, and we'll go from there. Come out with that statement, and if you share that with a lot of veteran agents will know just what to do. I'd be more than happy to help you myself. You send me that statement and an age, kind of an idea of their health, and you can make a lot of money doing that. I mean, it's not happening enough out there where people are reviewing life insurance. So it's a really good idea to pull those statements out and look at them. A lot of it you're just going to learn over time in different scenarios. So, all right. Anything else, guys? Any other questions?
No, not enough.
All right. I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Trying to squeeze all that in 20 minutes is kind of difficult. All right, we'll talk to you later, guys.
Have a great week.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks.